Alright, so I'm watching this documentary on Seattle is Dying. Um, and I can tell you right now that I haven't been all over Seattle, but in the couple areas I've been at, it looks very similar to what you're about to see. So, a lot of the townspeople, city folk, I guess, are upset about the homelessness problem and the lack of authority of the police. So, of not the police, of the mayor, and I guess isn't allowing them to use their full power. So, let's see. I'm going to weigh in on it as we go, but let's just see what we have here. Let me preface this by saying I only watched the first like 5 minutes of this, and I decided to do a video on it. So I saw this part, and this shit here, I didn't see it to this extent, but I have seen it very similar to this in smaller doses, just walking like the street.
Let me ask you something. What if Seattle is dying and we don't even know it? This story is about a seething, simmering anger that is now boiling over into outrage. It is about people who have felt compassion, yes, but who no longer feel safe, no longer feel like they are heard, no longer feel protected. It is about lost souls who wander our streets, untethered to home or family or reality, chasing a drug which in turn chases them. It is about the damage they inflict on themselves, to be sure, but also on the fabric of this place where we live. This story is about a beautiful jewel that has been violated, and a crisis of faith amongst a generation of Seattleites falling out of love with their home.
I would just like to say that the people who demonize weed, I've smoked a lot of weed in my lifetime. Not anymore, of course, because I'm a good boy. But I've never done this shit on weed. So let's just keep that into perspective.
There is another part of this story, too. It's about a solution, an idea for a city that has run out of them. And I ask again, what if Seattle is dying and we don't even know it?
I drive my 12-year-old's carpool through Yesler when we do carpool, and it's a good talking point about, what they're seeing, what we can do to help, how we can make a difference. And honestly, at this point, I don't have a good answer for how we can make a difference. The last 5 to 10 years, it's not the place that I grew up in, and it's been really sad.
Matt Campbell lives and works in Seattle. He's raising a family, and like many others, he's mad.
It's gotten to a point where I'm embarrassed of it. I don't want to have my friends and family come here anymore.
People
This is one of the
didn't used to use the word embarrassing about Seattle, but if you listen closely, you'll hear it a lot now.
it's embarrassing. This is one of the most beautiful regions in the entire world, and right now, with lack of a better word, it looks like shit, and it's embarrassing.
This is Mehrdad Derek Shande. He runs an upholstery shop in Ballard near the Burke-Gilman Trail. See if you can't feel his frustration.
This is just a bunch of. This is not right.
Out his window, he looks at this.
Oh, they're human beings. Yes, I'm a human being too.
Customers coming to his shop see the same thing.
I have known cops from Compton, Watts, South Central. They have some power in their hand. Here you see a bunch of twinkle toes running around here. What the heck? Because they run the city like that. They're having problems. They're not having enough authority.
There were fires set outside his shop this past summer, and Mr. Derek Shande does not blame police. He believes their power has been stripped away.
The city mayor doesn't give the cops authority. That's the problem. We need somebody with some weights and tell them, it's not legal living on the sidewalk. It's city ordinance. It's not legal living here. Why can't we enforce the law?
No Robert's rule. We're going to have a community discussion.
Last May 2nd, at a town hall meeting in Ballard, simmering anger boiled over into all-out rage.
So why do we see so many people living outdoors?
Will you manage?
I would like an answer to that question. Because I'm torn, but I'll get into that later.
These camps, and will you enforce the law?
There has evolved a profound disconnect, and rarely has it been more vividly laid out than in this exchange.
If property crime is committed, violence is committed, you need to call 911 and the police.
You've lost all credibility when you say, you said 2 words. You said call 911. Do you understand that the police have told us to vote you all out so that they can do their jobs? And you're telling us to call 911? You're smiling. You think it's funny? You think it's funny the way we're living?
The way we're living in beautiful Seattle, people are angry, furious about the way we.
All right, my next question is, well, first of all, I guess, why is that guy smiling? I mean, he's either smiling because he just really doesn't give a shit, which a lot of those people seem to think, or he's smiling because, like, what are you going to do with the homeless? Like, where are they going to go? Like, does anyone have an answer for that? As someone who's been homeless multiple times, like, where are they going to go? Yeah, I agree they need to be off the streets. 100%. I am definitely behind that. Not just because it's unsightly to look at, but these people need somewhere safe to go. And you can't just bunch them up and put them in one area, because that makes things insanely out of control. You can't have a lot of unstable people. Not just unstable mentally, but you're going to have some of those in there, by the way. I mean unstable as far as not having somewhere to go. If you just put everybody in tents in one area and make it Tent County or something, that doesn't help the people living in Tent County. That's going to exacerbate your situation 100 times. Like, you cannot do that. So next is, are we going to just build hotels and not charge them? And then are we going to oversee the drug use in it? Because if we don't do that, then you're just making it just like Tent County or Tent City or whatever I said. You're just basically doing that, but you're putting it in a hotel. So I understand that, like, things have to change, but can someone give me a real answer as to how we do that? That's why I said I wanted to hear the end of that question of, I don't know, if whatever her face is, as far as why are people homeless. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Drugs, obviously, that's a given for some, but there's a lot of reasons why people are on drugs. They could have been in unstable situations before, because people don't necessarily get on drugs and then become unstable. They're usually unstable and then they get on drugs. And again, unstable meaning it could be psychological, it could be in a toxic environment as far as like mental abuse or physical abuse. It could be a trauma of some sort that, you know, I don't think I have to go into what the traumas of the world are like, but Usually that's how people end up on drugs. Now, there are people who were doing fine, got on drugs, and then made it into homelessness. But I feel like the majority of homeless gets classified as that. And that is usually far from the case. Perfect example of someone who didn't deserve to be homeless. When I got off the bus in Tampa, I think this was probably like a few days after I arrived. I went into the Salvation Army homeless shelter there. Completely new video on that debacle. But I remember waiting for the bus to either go to a job interview or coming back from a job interview or something. Maybe I was just job searching, honestly. I think the first couple weeks I was just job searching, so I was probably coming back from doing that. And at the main bus depot is usually where you see a large number of homelessness. Like if you're just like engulfed in it. Like people are there, they're trying to make money, they're trying to spend money, they're living their lives, And so usually people are always selling something, whether it be cigarettes, whether it be drugs, whether it be something probably stolen or what have you, usually something nefarious. I saw this one dude, you know what, I'll even take a video of it because I literally just found it yesterday. This dude was gathering like wreaths or leaves of some sort. I don't know what leaves there. It's something like from a tree from that climate. Like you don't find those trees in Michigan or whatever. But he was using like the leaves from those. And actually it might have been a palm tree, honestly. Wow. Shows my geographical intellect there. But yeah, anyway, he was just taking these leaves and he was making flowers with them and he was selling them. And I sat there and I watched him. And not saying I could see this guy's character, but usually when you see someone on drugs, you see missing teeth or you see like a crazy old, like aged face or scabs or something, and you look at this guy and he looks normal. Now that's not to say that he wasn't on drugs. Like I didn't ask him, but I did have a conversation with him for like 10-15 minutes. And he looked and sounded like a regular guy. And like I said, I wasn't trying to pry into his life because I think that's like the worst thing you can ask someone. Is like, well, how did you end up here? Like, I wouldn't want to imagine how someone went from stable housing to homelessness. My case wasn't as nearly as bad as a lot of others. But I got to know him. Like, he obviously wasn't high at the time. And, I walked over to him to say, hey, what do you got there? What are you peddling? And he's like, I make these flowers and I just try to sell them or whatever. And, I bought one. Well, I bought two, I think, actually. I don't know where the other one is. I think I lost it along the way. But I did find the one. And I just thought that it was so unfair that guy was homeless. Like, I took a chance to make it in a new city and didn't have a plan. So yeah, I deserve to be homeless. There are people who... It's real hard to say someone deserves to be homeless, but there are some people who have kind of brought themselves there by their own volition. And I just thought that this individual was one of the last people that actually deserved to be homeless. So anyway, just to wrap up what I'm saying, there's a lot of stories on how homelessness occurs. So, unless someone has an idea of what we're going to do with these people, I don't know what the fuck you want the mayor to do. Now, this dude did not have to smile like that if he was being genuine and just didn't have an idea of what to do with him. Because watching the video without any context of what he's thinking, it looks bad. It looks really bad. But I would like to maybe do some research on this guy and actually find out if these townspeople actually have a reason to be this upset. Because they're obviously upset. And it seems like it's not just a homeless problem. So I'd like to see if this documentary actually goes into it.
Are living. Let's look for a moment at property crimes for the 20 biggest cities in the country. New York City in 2017 had 1,448 property crimes per 100,000 residents. Los Angeles was just over 2,500. Chicago, 3,263. And look at Seattle, 5,258. The only major city with a worse number is San Francisco, which is dealing with the same problems for the same reasons that we are. They top the 6,000 mark. It's not your imagination. The crime here, the burglaries, the theft, the stealing of cars is worse than in other big cities. And in most cases, it's way worse. And then you walk down the street and you see a wretched soul like this, consumed by demons, maybe madness, maybe drugs, maybe both. This is what suffering looks like. This is pain. Ranting and raving, screaming silently, coming completely unraveled before our eyes.
I would like to thank this reporter for trying his damnedest to be fair to this individual. I thought how he started, he was going to go in a completely negative direction, but it sounds like he actually has compassion for this individual. I would like to give that man respect.
And then tomorrow, he'll wake up and relive the nightmare all over again. Starving, eating trash from a garbage can. Look at the people walk by. Of course they're not shocked. How could they be? They see it every day. How can this be who we are? How can this be what we allow? How did the word compassion get twisted into this sickening reality?
Damn blanket! Shut up! I'm driving full! Damn blanket! Shut up!
The Puget Sound Business Journal estimates that Seattle and its outlying areas spend $1 billion addressing and responding to the homeless situation every year. And they say that number is almost certainly underestimated. Nonprofits, city and county budgets, police calls to homeless camps, hospital services, building tiny houses, drug treatment and outreach. Picking up needles, clearing out camps, garbage details, chain link fencing, and the more money we throw at the problem, the worse it gets.
Point taken. As someone who's currently in Seattle right now, and someone who's even tried to get funding for just an apartment in Michigan, those wait lists are ridiculous. Florida too, matter of fact. They, to get even just Section 8 housing, is usually a 2 or 3 year wait list. It is crazy. So it sounds like this guy is pretty spot on.
But of course, what is happening in King County and on the streets of Seattle isn't about dollars. It's about human lives. How can this be the right thing to do? How can watching human beings live and die in filth and degradation and madness be right?
I can't remember what comedian said this, but he said every place that's named after Martin Luther King is usually a drug-infested area. And I gotta say, I haven't been everywhere where it's either Martin Luther King Drive or Boulevard. I haven't been to every one of them, but I've seen some in Michigan. I've seen some I've seen one in Florida, and I stay in King County, and I don't know if that's just coincidence, but it seems like he might be onto something. I just thought that's kind of weird.
Cost isn't $1 billion a year. The cost is quality of life. The cost is people not wanting to take their families downtown anymore. Families not feeling safe in their own neighborhoods. The cost is people no longer feeling like they are heard, no longer feeling protected. The cost is people dying in the streets and the rest of us getting used to seeing it, numb to the suffering. The cost is incalculable. How did we get to this point? This is a list of familiar faces, repeat offenders, people who break the laws, get caught, get released, and break the laws again and again and again. There are 100 names on the list. Scott Lindsay is the man who dived into public records and researched the list.
If we take somebody into the jail, don't give them meaningful help, and then put them right back out on the streets, we know they're going to commit the same crimes in the same places. And our public records, our criminal justice records, really show that that's exactly what's happening.
Look at the sheer volume of criminal cases. Calvin A., 68 criminal cases since 2002, repeated random assaults on random individuals. Drainin B., 54 criminal cases since 2016. Michelle C., 72 cases since 2000. And the list goes on and on. Seattle's mayor says this:
"It is wrong to conflate homelessness with a rise in crime."
For at least 100 people, it would at the very least appear to be a factor.
Of the 100 that you looked at, what percentage of them were homeless?
Yeah, from our criminal justice records, 100% had indicators that they were currently homeless.
And what percent showed signs of addiction?
Yeah, 100% also showed signs of a substance use disorder.
And what percent were mentally ill?
Yeah, a little less than half had been evaluated by the courts formally for mental health conditions, serious, severe mental health conditions.
On average, the people on the list had 36 criminal cases each in the state of Washington and 7 jail bookings in the last year.
What this report also shows is that the police are working hard. They're making contacts, they're making arrests for criminal behaviors of, again, the same people in the same places over and over and over. What I think we need to focus on is what is our criminal justice system doing? Making arrests for criminal behaviors of, again, the same people in the same places over and over and over. What I think.
What am I looking at here? Is this like someone who has a warrant? Because I expected them to be like getting a homeless dude who was like about to like piss outside or something, or do something weird. It just seemed like some dude just kind of got snatched up. Be nice if there was some backstory to that, but I don't know.
We need to focus on is what is our criminal justice system doing to support those police officers.
The 100 names had between them more than 3,600 criminal cases. For the most part, few have done serious time. They are out in our communities, walking our streets. The drain on the system, the drain on resources and manpower is incalculable.
The fact that this system could go on with, in effect, 100% failure rate for so long without anybody raising questions, without city council hosting hearings, without any action being taken, is something that it's hard for me to explain.
Richard Padden is 55 years old. Born and raised in Seattle, he works for the county. He looks around at Seattle's post-apocalyptic landscape and is amazed.
But this borders on insane. I mean, we're allowing ourselves to participate in an insane practice that is affording people. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Richard started a Facebook page called Seattle Looks Like Shit. It's not meant to be funny. It's meant to be sad.
Pictures speak for themselves. I started grabbing a few photographs in the area, posting those, and the name of the site, as I was driving around, look, I just say to myself, Seattle looks like shit. We're fed up with it. I was fed up with it. That's why I started the page.
Day after day, One after another, the pictures on the page from every corner of the Emerald City paint a picture of rot and filth that is being allowed to fester on the streets and in the lots and under the overpasses of a once proud city.
It looks like a third world. It looks, junkyardish. I'm not heartless, but I don't see that what we're doing now is helping anybody, and it hasn't gotten better.
Seattle police are afraid to speak out. For 2 years, we've tried to get cops to talk about what they see every day, about what's really happening on the streets and behind the scenes. More than once, the word terrified was used. Cops are terrified of losing their jobs and pensions, terrified of retaliation. And so we put out some generic questionnaires, which were filled out by completely anonymous police officers. Their responses are eye-opening, frightening, and at times sad. One officer wrote simply, "Yes, I am frustrated because I'm a law enforcement officer that is told not to enforce the law." Another wrote, "It's simple. Start keeping criminals in jail. Judges need to stop giving them ridiculously low sentences, and prosecutors need to stop accepting cheesy plea deals and actually lock people up when they commit a crime. That's all it would take to drastically lower Seattle's crime rate."
Okay, what crimes are we talking? Because if we're talking about something petty and then just keep people locked up, that's not the way to go. Because now I don't want to use exacerbate. Now we're making petty crimes like felonious. And that's not the way to do it either. I believe the police have been trying that particular strat basically all over the U.S., and all it's done is make the prisons, the people that own the prisons, very rich, and hasn't done shit to actually help society. So if we're talking like possession, and you're going to talk like a year, I think that's a little unjust. I would rather someone actually go into some sort of, not facility, but an actual rehabilitation center. Like a legitimate one that's not out for top dollar, that's not out for just trying drugs on people and see what they do. Like an actual place to get someone physically, if they need it, spiritually, or just mentally right. And if there's something with this individual that you can't fix mentally, then there's something else we're going to have to do. But I don't think putting people in jail is the solution.
Another officer said, "People come here because it's called Freeattle, and they believe if they come here they will get free food, free medical treatment, free mental health treatment, a free tent, free clothes, and will be free of prosecution for just about everything." And they're right. It didn't used to be that way. Law enforcement officers used to be able to enforce the laws.
Okay, real quick about this. 80% of what he said up here is right. People come, they'll get free food, free medical, free mental health treatment. Yes, I am all for people getting all that. 100%. Also, sometimes people do need clothes. Yes, that is what, that's a basic, I think that should be like a basic human right, is to be able to get clothes. However, this free tent and free prosecution, that's where we need to fix, and that's where we need to come up with some sort of ideas, because obviously this tent thing isn't fucking working. And free of prosecution, I don't even know how or why that happened. So hopefully we'll get some explanation into that.
This officer continues. In the last 5 years, there has been a culture shift, and it started with the legislature decriminalizing felonies and dumping convicts onto the streets. And then there is this. An officer says, even if quality warrant arrests are made, the judicial system sees fit to let them out of jail within a couple of days, often the next day. Why are we risking our lives to take felony-level fugitives into custody if they're just going to be released?
Okay, that explains a fuck ton. Okay, yes. So I am someone who's had a terrible relationship with police. But I side with this dude. I wouldn't do that. Why? Nobody would do that. Why would you risk your lives for a dangerous felony-level fugitive if they're going to be out in 2 days? Why would you even bother? Why would you paint a house white? You know, you're sitting there, you got your brush, you got your ladder, you're going up, you got the detail going, you're making it so it's nice. And I don't want to say clean, because, you know, there's a stereotype that white and black is clean. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you're making it a white house. And then someone comes behind you and just starts painting it black and throwing dirt at it. And again, not a racial thing. Okay, let's just say green. All right, someone comes and paints it green and is throwing dirt and grass and, you know, random shit in your driveway at the house, and it's just constantly fucking it up behind you. Why the fuck would you continue to paint that house white? This person is making it so you don't want to care because your efforts are null. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. It's just constant. It's just a constant, not backlash. You know, this is you're wasting your time. Nothing's happening, but the problem with that is doing nothing makes it so that house gets dirtier. So we need to do something about the guy fucking up the house. So I think that's where our energies need to lie.
Prosecutor's office and judges alike seem to be drinking all the Kool-Aid, causing a huge disconnect and a broken system with absolutely no teeth.
That's fucked up. That's a cop saying that. Because, make no mistake, police officers will lie for each other to get themselves out of a jam, even if it's not even warranted. Like, police officers have lied for other officers constantly to put people in jail. Constantly. So, when I see a police officer saying, holy shit, we can't do anything, we need to fix this, and is basically blowing the whistle, that takes a lot, because I'm pretty sure there are plenty of officers who are more than willing to sit back and let nothing change. Not because they don't have power, but because they honestly don't give a shit. This one sounds like he actually gives a shit and wants to make changes and just doesn't have the power to. Tiny shift in the way I perceive police. Definitely not all, but looks like there might be some decent ones out there.
That is Travis Berge stretching out before we interviewed him. He came from Reno 4 years ago. He's a musician, a big personality, and he has problems.
You're a user, right? What's your drug of choice?
I use methamphetamines.
Yeah.
And I try to at least use it once a day. But I don't really consider myself a drug abuser. The shit is amazing.
You like the meth?
I love it.
Remember that list of familiar faces?
Okay. Meth. Not a fan. Not that I've ever done it, but it really makes you think that the decisions that you're making are wise decisions. It really does that shit. I had someone who I considered a friend at one point who used to use meth. And the lies he would tell were just ridiculous. Like, they weren't even, like, believable, but he'd believe him. Meth is fucking crazy.
Travis is on it. 34 criminal cases in 4 years. Things like assault, attempted rape, trespassing.
You're on a list, you know.
Nice.
There's a list of the 100. They came out with the 100 frequent flyers,
Really?
friendly faces.
Of everything?
Of all, the entire.
Which one am I?
Which number on the list?
Yeah.
Oh, you're up there.
Nice.
You're up there.
I was just saying, like, I've definitely been the most in Seattle. Guaranteed.
Travis, put the bike down, Travis!
This is body cam footage of an incident on First and Pike a little more than a year ago.
Travis! What's up? Travis? What's up? Hey, come on, Travis. Travis! Hey, you Travis, put the bike down.
Okay. For someone who doesn't think he's addicted or a drug abuser of meth, he might actually believe that shit. But, I mean, he's on meth right now. So.
It started with property destruction and escalated into assaulting police officers. A bunch of cops were deployed.
Stand up so we can get out of here.
Bergie spit on them.
Don't spit.
Fought them.
Hey, no biting. Don't bite yourself either.
Stand up, Travis. We're going to the gurney. Here's the gurney.
It lasted hours.
Forward.
Hours. One dude on meth. Hours, son.
Well, I'm actually not even high right now.
Travis is outrageously unapologetic about his life and his world. He could care less about yours.
Do you steal for your habit?
I actually just started stealing last Monday. I started stealing, and oh my God, dude. That was one of the hardest sacrifices, is to like do unrighteous things in front of my dudes.
Travis, just relax. Travis, do you want to smoke? Travis, you want to smoke or a candy bar?
No! But
will you continue to do that?
Oh, I'm having a blast now. It is so much fun.
What should the system do with a guy like you?
I think that this system has done what any viable, legitimate system would, and they've really like exalted me, and like shown deference and love towards me.
Back the f*** up! I want to see you pick it up with your mouth, though. Remember when you caught it with your toes?
And like, I don't feel like I'll ever be arrested again. I haven't been in jail for like a year and 3 months or so, you know? So a change like that, responding to a big change, definitely shows that I have conquered the criminal justice system.
Want to know the sad part, the truly frustrating part? He's probably right.
That is fucking insane. And he's probably right. He's probably right. I don't even know what else to say after that.
There was a police officer named Todd Wiebke. He prided himself on getting his boots dirty, on meeting the people on the fringes, in the camps. He tried to find common ground as human beings, and he tried to police. He wrote a blog for a long time, first-person musings about patrolling what happens in the dark shadows of West Seattle. Not long ago, he wrote this. This week I dealt with crisis, with narcotics, with heartache, and with liars. Sometimes all at once, sometimes one at a time. I am helpless to unlock the doors when dealing with a person trapped in a horror inside of their own mind. Lord, I try, but I am a limited man with just a little skill. I still love coming to work. We have an awesome city with the ability to adapt and overcome. The only way to lose is to not try. We are trying to solve this crisis, and we will not lose. And then one day this past October, Todd Wiebke was told by one superior to impound an RV and clean up the spot. And when he did it, another superior scolded him for doing so because of new protocol. He had a bellyful, and he walked into HR, and he quit. Retired, just like that.
I feel like I abandoned the ship, that I walked away, and I did, because I couldn't do it anymore. It was just, the bureaucracy built up to the point where I felt like I was no longer necessary as a police officer, that the system had a different idea of how they wanted to handle it, and I was an appendix. I needed to be gone, so I'm gone.
Ask anyone. They'll tell you this was a good cop, the kind we want out there, the kind we need.
But I will tell you that there is no morale. There's a love for the job.
He says the drugs, the camps, the theft, the rot, and the disgrace of it all don't have to destroy Seattle. They're being allowed to.
Everybody's trying to do the right thing. It's just coming out wrong.
Listen to these next words carefully. Let them sink in.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that the only thing I can equate it to is we're running a concentration camp without barbed wire, up to and including the medical experiment of poisoning these people with drugs. I don't know how else to put it, and it's infuriating.
Carefully, let them sink in.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that the only thing I can equate it to is we're running a concentration camp without barbed wire, up to and including the medical experiment of poisoning these people with drugs. I don't know how else to put it, and it's infuriating. Every camp I walked into, there was a weapon, multiple weapons. I found modified weapons. I was constantly on the side of the road talking to people that were swinging machetes, holding an axe, armed with knives. Our city has even gone so far as to say, well, this much of narcotics on your person's okay.
3 grams.
Yeah, hey, that's okay. So that's user quantity. So, when you start, that process and people feel secure and okay having their drugs on them, what's to stop them from doing it? How do you now?
Okay, that's an issue, because there was a time back in the early 2000s where you get caught with a gram of crack or coke, it is a guaranteed prison sentence. I don't know how many years or months you get, but you're going. I mean, unless you're snitching, but that's a video that I'll probably never do. We'll see though. But yeah, to be able to have 3 grams of meth, of heroin, of coke, of crack, like what the fuck, dude? Like, I don't. I would like to know who okayed that.
Now you're pretty much okaying narcotics, and the same officers that used to go out there and arrest them are now rendered impotent and can't do anything about it. And it's just a matter of political will on the part of our city to go out there and say, hey, you can't park your motorhome in this driveway with no engine in it, with all this filth around it. You can't do it. It's wrong. And stop them.
I gotta say, man, this is really nice.
Oh, I am in heaven.
He's in Hobart now. He bought a horse ranch and shares it with his family and these friends.
So this is Griff here, the white guy. All right, they're a little nervous of the camera. So horses are amazing. They are 900-pound chickens.
And before we left this good cop, who is now an ex-cop, there was one more question for him. And if you live in the city that Todd Wiebke used to patrol, if the people you love and take care of are here with you, trying to live a good life, then his answer should send shivers down your spine.
Let me ask you this. Knowing what you know, having seen what you've seen, if you had a young family, would you raise them in Seattle right now?
Absolutely not. Not even, no. No.
There is a...
That's unfortunate. When I came out here, I knew that the West Coast had a homelessness problem. I didn't know that there was that there was an authority problem. That's really sad. And again, this is coming from someone who will rarely side with the police. I side with logic, and a lot of police that I've dealt with, that either former friends have dealt with, the rule book is completely flipped. It's like, we're going to use everything that we can find to incarcerate you so we can get our numbers up. And over here in Seattle, and I'd like to do some research on when these laws changed and how the minority community viewed police before all this. I mean, I'd like to know if are we looking at an LA situation where it's like known that the police are out to fuck you, or is it more balanced? Is it more fair? Because the way the police are trying to come off, they're trying to come off like they're fair and balanced. I know a network that claims that, and it's never the case. So I don't know if all of this is genuine, but this guy, this officer here, I think for the most part he's shooting straight, and it's really sad to hear. Especially, I mean, I'm very glad that when I came out here I was single, because I wouldn't bring somebody like in the streets I travel don't even look like this, like what you're seeing. Like, the streets I travel aren't even this bad. But from what I see, I still wouldn't want to bring a family into it.
Cemetery in Seattle, a Jewish cemetery. Campers and RVs park next to it and stay. This man, Ari Hoffman,
this shouldn't be happening in civilized society,
says the cemetery has been violated repeatedly.
Prostitutes are working the woods. Drug addicts are working the woods. Our groundskeepers come in on Monday morning and they find everything from a weekend of fun, which is needles in the ground, crystal meth on the tombstones, other drugs, garbage. They leave their garbage outside. They see feces on the tombstones that's left over from whatever happened the night before.
By the way, the name of the cemetery is Beker Holim. It means helping those who are sick.
You're mad, aren't you?
I'm furious. I'm beyond furious. This...
Okay, again, not a crazy religious person, but it's kind of weird that, like, a lot of satanic shit seems to be happening on messages that are geared towards hope. That's just very... If I was a spiritual person, I would be very unnerved by that.
Has pushed me to a whole new limit. Let's get the sandbags off this one and we're going to pull the whole thing forward.
Ari has a company that sets up bouncy houses at concerts and festivals. He says it's not just the Jewish cemetery that's being desecrated, it's everywhere.
And I used to say this place is great because the streets are so clean, it's so beautiful. You walk down the streets now, they smell like urine. The cemeteries are being desecrated. People can't go to parks with their kids because there's needles everywhere. My office, bullets come flying through the windows at us. It's out of control. It's nonstop, and we deserve better. And it's all preventable. It's all avoidable. It's all fixable. It didn't have to get like this. I wish I had faith in my government, but after 2 meetings with council members and nothing's changed, I don't really expect anything to change. We're gonna have to do this ourselves. Well, thanks for coming down, guys. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it.
A couple of months after that interview was done, Ari Hoffman, who was thrust into the spotlight because he voiced his outrage, who had no political aspirations of any kind, and who was urged by friends and frustrated citizens, decided to run for city council. And he has no future political aspirations beyond the council. The other day he said, "I want to fix Seattle and then go back to work." A report received is when police file a report of a case requesting that the city attorney's office file charges on behalf of the city. Back in 2006, for every 100 reports received, 25 of them didn't get filed. How times have changed. In 2016, the latest data we have, for every 100 police reports, 46 of them, almost twice as many, didn't get filed. Nothing happened at all. They were completely ignored. Of the remaining 54 of the original 100, 1/3 of them were then outright dismissed, thrown out. Another third were listed as other, with no resolution. So only 18 of the original 100 reports filed by police actually result in convictions. 18. And of those 18 convictions after plea deals and lenient sentences, very few cases end up with anyone really being held accountable. Those are 2016 numbers. We have no reason to believe the trends haven't continued since then. The real homeless you don't see. Out-of-work truckers or construction workers who've run into bad luck don't live like this, in tents on mud patches. This is something different. This is drugs, heroin, meth. Citizens know it.
Can we at least acknowledge the elephant in the room, that this is also a drug problem? I've only heard it being mentioned as a housing problem. This is a drug problem.
The quote-unquote homeless know it too.
I have not met anyone else on the street who's not in some phase of addiction. I mean, of use, of serious use. And I think that that's the starting point. You just have to address that. You have to figure that out.
So I wanted to make sure I got that correct.
I would say 100% of the people that I have met out here are in some level of addiction.
100%.
Yeah.
Every single person.
Every single person I've met out here.
But listen.
That goes back to my point. All right, so we can't just say it's drugs, because a lot of people come into broken situations and then get on drugs. We need to deal with that first. How people end up on drugs in the first place, before we can just say, oh, this person's on crack, this person's on meth, this person's on da-da-da-da. We need to deal with it that way first. We need to get these people to either not use those drugs, period. I don't know how you use meth, crack, or coke recreationally. I don't see a path in how that works. I could see you trying to pawn it off like some Adderall bullshit. You know, make coke legal, so that's definitely not the way to go. So we need to deal with the fact that these people are in broken homes, toxic relationships. We need to start figuring out the people around them that are making them go to these drugs. Because a personal story for me, and I've forgiven this person since, but anyway, this person had pulled me aside one day and said, hey man, I want to try crack once and never go back. And we had like a 15-20 minute discussion on why this is a bad idea, at least on my end. Little did I know he had actually been doing it for quite some time before that, and he was trying to flip someone into a junkie to get another cash flow, basically. But in that situation, I don't know what that individual was going through to end up on drugs. I don't know if that was a peer pressure thing. I don't know if that was like, hey, let me try it and see what happens kind of thing. So situations like that, if you had gotten yourself into those situations, then that's what the people are pointing at. Like, yo, this is the problem, da-da-da-da-da. But a lot of times, I'm telling you, people are in very unhealthy environments and they turn to drugs. Or they get drugs pushed on them. Or it's in their face all the time. There's a lot of temptation to do it. Now, some of us have had that same temptation. I can tell you firsthand experience. I've had plenty of temptations and, offers to do something for free, or, get some free alcohol, or like, hey, I got this meth, or I got this coke, obviously I just told you about a crack story. And by the way, I don't use drugs, just to throw that out there. Smoke cigarettes, just as bad as drugs, kills me and you don't even get high. So I mean, that's stupid. That's dumb in itself. I don't need drugs to compound that fucking anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of situations where people are just in really fucked up environments and then they're on drugs. So I just wanted to preface that and just at least get that in people's minds that it's not just a drug problem, it's a environment problem.
Closely, we constantly refer to it as a homeless crisis, not a drug crisis.
The fractured, siloed approach of homelessness in our region.
To help combat the homelessness epidemic.
And the homelessness crisis.
We have a crisis around housing and homelessness.
If we won't even name the thing that is destroying Seattle, what hope do we have of fixing it?
Again, there is a housing crisis. Like I said, it's hard to get on a wait list in Michigan. And when you try to get on a wait list out here, it's ridiculous. So housing is a factor in homelessness. However, if they're ignoring a drug problem, then that is also a problem. But again, like I just prefaced, there's a lot more into drugs than just using. But anyway.
Matt Markovich is a reporter for Como. He's out in the camps amongst the homeless and the addicted almost every day.
Yeah, that's the woman that I've been talking with right over there. She's running, they're trying to make this a park. And she's leading the spearheaded effort, that woman that lives right there.
Is that right? What will it take for you to get off the street?
Matt is responsible for Como's Project Seattle Stories. His is a unique perspective, a frequent witness to the underbelly of the Emerald City with the eye of a reporter.
It's a miserable life. It really is. You have no place to go to the bathroom. Fires are prohibited in most places. Your biggest thing is theft. Everybody complains about theft. There's no safe spot here at all.
So this guy gets it. And I didn't even think about the fire situation. So that means you can't even cook your own food. You can't boil water. You can't cook a turkey. You can't cook a chicken. Or if you're a meat guy, I'm not. You can't even cook like healthy home-cooked meals. So that in itself is a problem. And I've lived like that, and I wasn't even homeless. And let me tell you, if you just eat shit food all the time, all day, all night, it definitely fucks with your mental. Sugar is poison, like 100%. So even like a bag of Cheetos or a wise man once told me, anything that comes in a package isn't food. R.I.P. Dave. But yeah, so I didn't even consider that aspect. Like, I knew about, not having stable housing and what that can do to you. And it's wrong to just judge someone on homelessness who's actually making an effort to get out, because without an address, you can't get one of those government phones without an address. Those free phones that they give you, you can't use the post office. When I was homeless, I tried to do that. You can't do that. You can't use your homeless shelter because it's not a verifiable address, really. And they'll even tell you, if you're getting mail, use the post office. There's no post here. So that in itself, just to get a phone, is ridiculous. Like, not having a physical address kills you on your job hunt. It kills you on your phone. So you can't even call for resources. That being said, I did find places where you could, use the phone for like up to 15 minutes. And like if you weren't doing something important, they'd give you like a half hour. So there is that. But, not a lot of people are aware of it. Like, I had to go to a specific center, and they were like the only center near me within like 5 miles. And they only had like 2 phones. Well, they might have had more, but I might be wrong on that. But the phone wait is crazy there. Like, it is. So not having a physical address really screws you. And this guy seems like he understands that. Like, it doesn't come off as judgmental. He recognizes there's a problem, and I'd like to hear his solution on how to fix it.
Seen it all. The rats, the human waste, the cold, the torment.
You wouldn't wish this life on your worst enemy.
No.
Right?
No. But it's remarkable that people are choosing this. Even though you hear the statistics from the city that, people don't want to do this, that it's miserable, there's a compassion for people. The people you see, and I see in camps, many of them are choosing to stay this way because of all the drug habits they have.
And that's all driven by the drugs.
Yes. Almost
the drugs
everybody-
drives everything we see here, right?
I would pretty much say that. Substance abuse, heroin, meth, even marijuana to some extent, is the driving factor why they stay out here.
You've said.
Okay. Not that I'm just speaking out to defend weed. And weed could cause someone to get homelessness. It could. However, those percentages are really low. Like, I've never smoked weed into homelessness. Like, and I never will. Obviously, I don't smoke now, but I feel like we're just he's kind of demonizing drugs. Like, I thought he was really going somewhere. He's still demonizing drugs, which is a problem, don't get me wrong. But he hasn't said anything about why people are on drugs. Like, when you get hooked on drugs, yeah, like living in a tent somewhere is ideal. You know, it's real hard to quit drugs. Have you ever tried to just quit sugar? Alright. Sugar's comparable to heroin, except the only thing with sugar is you don't throw up and you don't have like painful orgasms if you try to quit sugar. Trust me, I know. So some people are avoiding getting off drugs because that withdrawal is no joke. That is no bitch. Like, that withdrawal, just try to quit cigarettes. You feel like shit for a week, you get a little moody, and you're done. Try quitting some fucking heroin. Like, that is... I really wish he would have went into a little more detail, because now it just seems like this is like a drug campaign. And we did that already. That shit doesn't work. Let's come up with some real solutions here.
Down with the city attorney. You've asked him about repeat offenders who get arrested 60, 70 times. They're thrown back on the streets. What does he say?
You can't you can't arrest your way out of this problem. That's a firm belief of his.
Why is the question, should we hammer him now, when the entire criminal record that you're citing is proof that what we've been doing hasn't worked?
Do you ever hear about actual meaningful intervention taking place?
I really haven't. I can't say one case I've been covering for the last year and a half that I know of somebody who's gotten treatment and has gotten off the streets.
Police say that on July 20th of 2017, this man, Louis Arby III, 41 years old, removed the screen from a woman's window at an assisted living facility in SeaTac and crawled in. The woman inside was brutalized for an hour. She was raped and beaten and choked and robbed. Police say Louis Arby also urinated on the floor. Afterwards, police say he left through the same window he'd entered through. The victim was treated for bleeding on the brain, a broken nose, and other injuries. She was 71 years old. It was a shocking and disturbing crime, but perhaps we shouldn't have been all that surprised. Just 4 days before the rape, just 96 hours before police say he scarred one woman's life forever, Louis Arby III was arrested here, sitting next to the fountain, right outside the King County Courthouse. Police say he was selling methamphetamine. That's him in the back of the squad car after the arrest. He was booked and then released almost immediately. Our criminal justice system decided that he shouldn't spend even 24 hours in jail.
Okay, so this is my problem. This is my question. Is this guy getting out because he's snitching? Or is this guy getting out because the justice system is really that fucked and they're just not trying to deal with it? Because if these are informants that are getting out and causing this shit, we need to do a real hard overhaul of our justice system. Let us find out these are actually snitches that are doing this shit. Oh my God, let us find out these are actually snitches. This had better be a broken justice system. I swear to God, this had better be a broken justice system and not snitches being able to get out on some, bullshit and then able to fucking rape people. Like, that is insane. And I have my suspicions because I believe sex offenders would be perfect candidates for snitching because they have no options. So let us find out these are snitches getting out and doing this shit.
But even a brief look at his record would have shown that Louis Arby had come from California, where he'd spent 19 years in prison for kidnapping, robbery, and carjacking. And had prosecutors looked a little more closely, they'd have known that Arby was the only suspect in a case 3 months prior in which a woman was taken hostage, forcibly shot full of drugs, and viciously raped and beaten for 15 hours. The king...
Oh my God. What the fuck? What is this?
County Prosecutor's Office says, in this case we had information that he had a 1995 California conviction for kidnap to commit robbery and other offenses. The prosecutors assigned to the investigation had no knowledge of other pending investigation.
Alright, that's bullshit, okay? Let me tell you why. Your fucking job can pull up your criminal fucking history, okay? If I have criminal convictions in Michigan, which I don't, and I went to Florida, that job would know if I had criminal convictions. If I then go from Florida to anywhere else, they know what I did in Florida, and they know what I did in Michigan, alright? So if your job can do that, don't give me some bullshit that this fucking court didn't know that these prosecutors or whatever didn't know that. Again, let us find out these are snitches committing these crimes.
And so we are left with a question. How is it that a man is arrested in front of a courthouse in possession of a deadly drug that destroys lives? How is it that this man, who has a long history of violence, doesn't even spend 24 hours in jail?
Well, the drugs were actually given to the minority community. So, where the drugs came from, you can thank one of your ABC intelligence agencies for that. A lot of people I talk to say CIA, but we'll see.
How is it that he is sent right back onto the streets? One Seattle police officer told us anonymously, I would say all of the people living in sidewalk tents, doorways, and encampments suffer from drug addiction, or more rarely, a serious debilitating mental illness. Another officer put it this way, intervention of some sort has to be made on the people who were involved. If there is no intervention, there's no solution. It's that simple. This officer continues, I used to be proud of the hard work I did and actually thought I was doing something important. I took pride in working hard and making good arrests while treating everyone with the respect they deserved. Now, it's just about trading hours for dollars, and it's frustrating to me knowing I am becoming more apathetic and caring less about doing a good job.
I'm very proud of that individual for that self-realization. A lot of people would take that dollar and not give a shit. Believe you me, a lot of people would just take that dollar and not give a fuck. So yeah, some more respect points to the police there. I actually had something to piggyback off what he said earlier.
Now, it's just hard work I did, and actually thought people who were involved, if there is no intervention, there's...
Yeah, his intervention. Okay. So yeah, like, what... The problem with intervention is the person who's there has to want to quit. That's the thing. And with withdrawals, with the joy that it brings them, a lot of people... Let's take Eminem, for example. Famous rapper. If you don't know who he is, I'm sorry for you. That guy will tell you he was on a lot of drugs, mostly pills, I believe. And he was worried that if he got off the pills, he wouldn't even be able to make music anymore. So a lot of people might think that they're going to lose some of their livelihood if they get off drugs. So that's why a lot of people don't want to quit. The scare of withdrawals, which would scare a lot of people away, and just the fact that they don't even know if they'd be able to function without them. So we need to help people realize that they can function without them, and we got to do something with these withdrawals, man, because people can't be going through that. And this synthetic shit isn't working either, because that's just getting resold on the street. So I mean, I don't know. A lot of people are identifying the problem. I hear a lot of people saying, like this guy saying intervention, which again, that only works if you want to do it. Like, it's not that simple. But I respect that this guy has a good heart.
No solution. It's that simple. PD administration have ceased. Other cops said homelessness and drug use have become such politically charged issues. Politically charged in that the city, including SPD administration, have ceased to be interested in policing this population. In a misguided attempt to help this population, the city has allowed the streets to be essentially taken over. The city is falling apart and becoming more unsafe due to politics surrounding low-level criminal activity and homelessness. We don't want to screw over the homeless population. We just want the ability to police them. And yet another officer told us this. Drug dealers selling crack, meth, and heroin are evil people preying on the weakest part of society and belong in prison.
Okay, let's address that. Not even close to accurate. Not even close. There are a lot of people who have literally no other options than to either sell drugs, sell themselves. Imagine the trauma of having to do that every day. Man or woman. That is not where it's at. No, people who sell drugs aren't all evil. Just like people who run charities aren't all good. So let's get that straight away. There are people who the only jobs that are paying bills are making $10 an hour. There's a lot of drug dealers who would become musicians who tell you that they were making less than $5 an hour. How do you support kids and families on $5 an hour? I don't care what year it is, 1970, 80, 90. How are you supposed to raise a family on like $5 an hour? So when someone comes and tells you, I can get you $100 a day tax free, and even more if you try. I got kids. I got someone knocked up. I'm 16 years old. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, I'd never had a kid before. I just knocked this girl up. Like, what am I? Well, like, I can't just go become a CEO tomorrow and make $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year. Like, what? I can't just magically become like a construction worker. Now, granted, some people have done it. But let me tell you something. Construction is not for everyone. You have to be built for that shit. Not everyone can just walk into construction and make it. All right, let's be clear. Just like you can't walk into rapping. You can't walk into, well, let's not say movies, because you suck the right dick, you'll be in a movie. But most jobs, like especially now, are scarce. Like, a lot of people do not have other options. So this particular police officer knows better. Because I don't care how long you've been on the force, you know that I've never been a fucking police officer, and I know that not everyone who sells drugs is evil. Like, let us be 100% clear. Some people fall into debt and then they start slanging. Okay? So let's not just demonize people just because they use or sell drugs, all right? Now, that being said, there are people whose sole mission is to literally kill a city, okay? There are people who are unapologetic by what the drugs do. They only give a shit about the money. Some of them don't even give a shit about the money. They just give a shit about seeing shit burn, all right? Those are evil people, all right? We can't lump everyone who sells drugs into them, just like we can't lump good people with good people. You can't lump evil people with evil people. For a police officer to say this makes me think this is definitely an elitist mentality. Whereas, well, you sell drugs, so you ain't shit. But this person's actually been through these cities and these neighborhoods. I'm assuming if you're a police officer. So you've gotten the backstory, Like, that's your neighborhood. You patrol it every day. You know what goes on and why. And for you to come out and say this on a news channel is fucking ridiculous. Fuck you for that. You know better.
We arrest them and nothing happens to them. They are back out on the street immediately. We need to acknowledge the disregard for human life inherent in selling life-ending drugs and lock the dealers up for serious time.
Okay. He's part right. There are people who don't have any who do disregard or whatever. There are people who sell drugs who are trying to just kill people and make money and power, and that's how you can get your dick hard or pussy wet, I guess. So, like, yes, for those people, this is what needs to happen. But again, there are a lot of people not just selling drugs, but doing nefarious shit because there's no other options, or they don't know any other way to do it. So if we want to stop part of the drug problem, we need to get these people into better paying jobs when they're younger, or a better school system, and that in itself is its own battle. Like, that's been a losing battle for the longest. So for any of that to change, we need better schools, we need better homes, better neighborhoods in general. And I believe that for that to happen, the drugs would have to disappear. However, if the drugs disappear, something else needs to come in that place to get these people money. Okay, I don't know what it is. I mean, you can't put everybody on a bike and tell them to sell newspapers. Like, how else do these people make their money? Like, how else do these people survive? I do not want drugs. Like, let's be clear. But I don't want people to suffer either. So we need to come up with something else they can do to make money that doesn't involve selling hard drugs. If you want that thrill, work in a dispensary, But again, a lot of people aren't in it for the lifestyle. A lot of people are in it because there's no other options. So it's just my 2 cents.
Campers show up, they eventually get moved. They show up again. They set up where they please, in front of tourists, next to businesses, it doesn't matter. And they know that a lack of political will, or an overwhelming of resources, or indifference disguised as compassion will allow them to stay. And don't think for a moment that the visitors to our city don't notice.
Well, it's kind of surprising. I don't know why the city would let that happen. I mean, this is your touristy spot, you know what I mean?
This family is from Tennessee. They seem genuinely confused.
I just don't understand. Isn't it trespassing? You know what I'm saying? So how can they stay there?
Why does the city put up with it? That's a public spot. Why does somebody get to stay there? I don't understand that. I would be arrested, I thought, in my town if I did that.
I mean, right by our parking garage, there's just trash and... Oh, the smell was awful. Oh my God, the smell is horrible in any stairwell you go into around here.
I will admit that. In Tampa, you get off at the wrong bus stop, you're gonna smell piss. Trust and believe.
Oh.
Let me ask you something. Do you think they'll be back to visit again?
And in the last 3 years, it just has gone downhill.
Steve Danishek has spent his whole life in Seattle. He says when misdemeanors stopped being enforced, it was the beginning of the end.
And at that point, everyone got the message. It's a free-for-all down here. It's the Wild West. No laws apply. Do whatever you want. I could go down here and pee on the street or crap over there or smoke a joint. I have No one's going to get arrested for doing that because they're not doing that. They're not arresting anyone.
If I was a city council member, I might say, well, we're overwhelmed. We've got this homeless epidemic.
No.
The
city council is not overwhelmed by anything. The city council are idiots. They know that there are solutions out there. They simply have turned their back on the solutions.
Again, what are these solutions? Someone give me an answer, because I've been watching this thing for this hour-long video for 34 minutes and 57 seconds. Tim made a video on it for about an hour 20 now, and no one has given me one fucking solution on how to fix this. Hopefully this is coming at the end of the video, but a lot of people have a lot of gripes. A lot of people have are just bringing questions that have no answers to. What do you do with these people? Okay, you get them off the streets. Okay, cool. They're gone from your sidewalk. Where are they going? Can someone tell me where they're going? You want them off the street that bad? Are you willing to pitch in more tax dollars to make that happen? Because the funding's got to come from somewhere. So, give me a solution. What are we doing? Like, I understand, like, it's enraging people. I don't know if there's just a lack of homeless awareness about, like, how someone ends up homeless. And I understand that there's some homeless out there you probably don't want to talk to and ask them, hey, how'd you get that way? And again, I feel like it's a degrading question anyway. But what are we going to do with them? That's not inhumane. What are you going to do? Kill them off? Like, put them in hotels? Again, I told you that's not going to work. Where are they going to go? Someone give me that answer. Like, what solutions are we turning our back on? Throwing people in jail? What's it going to do? Like, throwing people in jail, even if it wasn't from, like, a corrupt mayor and all that, which, again, the jury's still out, because I'd like to know what these solutions this guy's just not doing. I'd like to know that. So, I mean, I'm not siding with the mayor. I'm not. I'm just saying, if he is or even was a halfway decent human being, what do you want him to do? Like, realistic? Like, I didn't know how many times I have to say this. Where are they going to go?
We don't sweat the small stuff anymore in Seattle. Small acts of incivility are ignored, and here's why. If someone, say, urinates in front of the Nordstrom store, they used to be issued a civil infraction, a $27 fine. It used to be that a civility charge would become a criminal charge if you didn't pay the fine. But the city attorney's office stopped filing civility cases. They are dropped now, almost without exception. Urinating or defecating in public, sleeping in parks, obstructing sidewalks, failure to pay infractions. All of it will get you nothing. And so...
Okay. You're going to charge a homeless person. They're jobless too. So why do you think you're going to see money from that? So yeah, I understand you can't piss and shit in front of restaurants. I understand that there are probably drugs that are making people do that. Okay? I get that. However, you can't get blood from a stone, my guy. So I don't know. I don't have a solution for that. Yeah, I think they still at least need to be going to jail. Because look, I don't know if you're going to need a shit bucket or if you're going to need like a designated place where you shit, but you cannot shit in front of fucking stores. I don't care if it's high end or low end. Like, someone owns that business. Someone is busting their ass to make that business thriving business so it can pay people and stimulate the economy, this, that, and the other. So yes, like, people at least need to be booked for that. You know, then the 1 or 2 days, like, that makes sense. Like, okay, like, can't charge you. You don't have any money. So yeah, we'll book you for a couple days. Hopefully you'll think about it a little bit and maybe you'll find somewhere else to piss and shit. Again, where? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm not saying you can just walk around the corner and do something. I don't know. But as far as charging people, no. But yes, they probably should be arrested for a day or so if you're shitting in public. I'm just saying. Let's not put people on the sex offender list for pissing in public. Like, come on, like, let's make that list legitimate. Like, there need to be legitimate people on that list. I don't want to know if there's a guy in my neighborhood who fucking got drunk at 2 in the morning and pissed in the playground. Alright? I don't want to know where that guy lives. I want to know where the guy is who literally plots on kids and women at all times. I want to know where that fuck's at. You know? So, I don't know. Moving on.
The police have stopped issuing the tickets altogether. What's the use? Small acts of incivility, things that cumulatively affect all of us, no longer have any consequences in Seattle.
Okay, so it looks like they, like, if someone was pissing in public, they just write them a ticket. No, like, you need to go to jail. Like, why are you pissing in public? All right, that should be a 1 or 2 day overnight stay. Like, no, that's how you at least curb some of that. Like, you can't just write someone a ticket. They're gonna use that ticket and wipe their ass with it, literally. So tickets, no, you're just wasting trees at this point. And that's a whole nother video. But yeah, like, writing tickets isn't going to do shit. Like, you need to be off the streets. If you're not in the right place of mind to know that you can't piss or shit on the sidewalk, yeah, you need to go. All right, like all the other stuff I can be lenient on as far as like the drug use. Again, I would rather people not be using drugs. And again, let's not sit here and classify weed as a drug. I've never done any of that shit in my lifetime while I was on weed. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who thought it'd be a good idea just to give people tickets in the first place. Like, what the fuck is that?
The businesses of our city, big and small, are fit to be tied. Bob Donegan is the president of Ivers. The conditions being allowed around our businesses are one thing.
There's needles and rats and garbage and feces. It's not acceptable in a major urban city to have those kind of problems where there are lots of people.
Okay, so that's another elitist mentality. That shouldn't be accepted anywhere, not just because you're in a big city. All right, let's make that 100% clear. We're not going to do this big city, little city shit, where the big cities are treated as more important than the little cities. People are people. Big city, little city, doesn't matter. I agree with your premise. Let's not make it a big city thing.
But then, with online shopping already threatening their existence, along came a horde of shoplifters stealing every day to feed their addiction.
Yeah, I would love to hear what the total is of if all the businesses in the downtown core would put their loss of theft.
Millions and millions of dollars.
A year. Just kind of, if they could compile that stat, we would all just probably drop dead after we heard what the total was.
One of the officers who replied to the questionnaire we sent out agreed. The amount of money lost due to thefts downtown, he said, is staggering. Unfortunately, the businesses take the hit, and the person caught stealing rarely has to deal with any consequences. Denise Moriguchi is the CEO of Uwajimaya, the grocery shopping hub of the International District.
The system's broken, and I think that's creating the boldness.
Uwajimaya called 911 at least 599 times over a 19-month stretch.
They're bold when they get caught. They kind of just, they don't really care, and they oftentimes we'll put in a police report and they'll get a trespassing notification, but then they'll just walk right back in, and it's kind of like, oh, well, you have this trespassing. Okay, what are you gonna do? Call the police?
And if you're wondering why that bold...
See, that's a problem. That is a legitimate problem. That has to be addressed, because that's fucking up the economy too. All right, that's where I don't fall in line with people who use drugs, because you go and steal for that addiction. You go and do that. Because a lot of people who get on hard times, and it has nothing to do with drugs, very rarely are they going to have this attitude of not just stealing, but just like the brazen attempt at it. Like, I feel like you would have to really be on drugs to have that attitude. Like, I don't I don't know. Again, like, actually, I got nothing. Let's keep going.
She talks about exists. Of those 599 reports of shoplifting at her store in a 19-month stretch, about 8 of the cases ended in some form of prosecution, most of those because they also involved assault.
It's huge, and it costs these businesses, small mom and pop businesses and large retailers alike, it costs them millions and millions of dollars per year. And you know what? The businesses don't like to talk about it themselves because nobody wants to say how much they're losing, but we know it is millions of dollars.
Citizens and shop owners had waited for the people running our city to come up with something, a plan. And then one day last May, a group of construction workers got tired of waiting and took action.
Coming here for this important discussion.
No head tax! No head tax! No head tax!
As you know, I am also a rank and file member of the labor movement.
No head tax! No head tax! No head tax!
On that day, the tide turned against Seattle's proposed business head tax to pay for homeless services and affordable housing.
But if we fight against each other, the bosses win.
No head tax! No head tax!
The city council, which had passed the tax unanimously,
You can say exactly what you think, but rather than chanting against each other, let's hear each other out.
was forced to repeal $75 million worth of business taxes. And for a moment in time, anyway, it felt as though something had changed.
Was this your dream, this shop?
Yeah. It's hard leaving. I mean, it's hard emotionally because I've been such a part of the neighborhood here, you know?
Karen Dannenberg ran her boutique in Belltown for many years, and then things changed.
There was a guy shooting heroin or whatever he was shooting on the sidewalk. I was in flip-flops walking by. There was urine all over the sidewalk, mattresses, a pile of trash that was overflowing, and it was appalling.
She called the police. She wrote letters. Things only got worse.
And I go to Bellevue, and it's calm, and it's quiet, and there's none of this stuff going on. And it's a joy being over there. I never thought I would say I'd be ready to leave Seattle, but I am.
True to her word, she left. Her store is in Bellevue now, and it's thriving. Amongst the responses to our questionnaire, one anonymous Seattle police officer said, there has to be some sort of intervention to break the cycle, or people will continue to do what they do. The addict won't quit because it has become too easy for them to use, and the dealer won't quit as the consequences of getting caught are minimal.
Yeah, he's on the right track. Again, intervention only works if you want to quit. And if no one's really making you quit, again, if you want to quit something, someone can't make you do it. So when it comes to drugs, I think there's a difference. Like when you're trying to quit something legal, like sugar or cigarettes or weed even, which of those three, weed is easily the easiest to quit, by the way. So let's not just lump that in with this. I think sugar is more of a drug than weed. Anyway. Yeah, so this guy's pretty on the money. I mean, why would you quit? Nobody gives a shit. If you get caught, by the time you get out, you won't even have a withdrawal. That's insane.
Another said, Seattle needs leaders who are willing to stand up for what is right, and by doing so will ultimately help those who can't help themselves and hold accountable those who are hiding behind tents. Reading through the responses, two things are crystal clear: the level of frustration and the fact that in spite of it all, they still care deeply. One officer said, crack cocaine, heroin, and especially meth use are on the rise. Unless someone contacted for low-level amounts of drug has a warrant, they're not taking to jail. They know this and have no problem using in open air. Drug dealers have caught on and have changed the amount they keep on them. It is currently impossible to combat the open-air drug market in the city.
100% agree with all this, not denying any of this. However, I am a little upset that no one is lumping pills into this, because pills will make you do the same shit that crack, heroin, and meth will do. And on top of that, not only will they make you do the same stuff, they'll also trigger long-term use psychosis. You will literally go insane if you take the wrong amount of pills for long. Even if you're taking the same amount of pills, you can get psychosis, or you can turn psychotic. So I'm very upset that pills aren't mentioned at all in this argument. I mean, if we're going to be fair, we need to be fair.
That officer was referring to the fact that in King County, 3 grams of heroin or meth won't get you prosecuted or probably even arrested. It's unofficial policy.
Which is insane, because if you're walking around with 3 grams of heroin or meth or crack, you're going to make serious money. So I don't see how 3 grams isn't considered dealing. Like, you can flip less than 1.5 grams and double your money of any of those. At least. So the fact that 3 grams isn't dealer, like, it protects the people who are doing it because they have to, but it definitely is in favor of the people who are just trying to fuck up society. So I don't know how to fix that either, but in any case, 3 grams is far too much to be carrying, but I think it's going to have to come down to the individual situation. We need special police we need police who come from these neighborhoods and know who is what. We need to know, and not come from these neighborhoods and then like have a connection with drug dealers and shit, because that goes on in police stations. Believe you me, people come from a certain neighborhood, they get in with the police, and then they're able to operate a drug ring. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, we need people who are familiar with these neighborhoods, and we know who's in it for the lifestyle, basically just in it because I look cool. Get them off the streets because they're fucking the whole shit up. Find out the people who are doing it because they are out of options. Literally. Not that they're trying to support a habit as well, because that 90% of people who deal drugs are users. Like, there's a lot of successful drug dealers that aren't users, and a lot of them are good people too. But again, there's a lot of other ones who aren't drug users, or are drug users who literally just want to watch the world burn. I think that was a Batman reference, so it kind of makes me look like I'm cheesy, but I'm not trying to be. But see, that's tough, man. Like, who wants to do that job, you know? Like, that's hard, but that's the only way to do it. That's the only way to make it fair. You have to know who's doing what and why. That's the bottom line. That's the only way. That's the only way to make it fair. So if you want to keep the 3 gram limit, fine. But these dealers who are literally just in there just to push, just to make money, just because fuck you, I can, they gotta go. Have to go.
Only the much larger quantities, say 20 grams, that get prosecuted, and the dealers and the users know it.
That's bullshit. That makes me think these are snitches who are coming out and doing this shit. Because if you catch someone with 20 grams, they're a fairly high-level drug dealer. I mean, I know there's people who move like metric tons and shit. Like, I get that. But someone who walks around consistently with 20 fucking grams is making a fuck ton of money. Make no mistake. So people who get caught with 20 grams and those are the ones who are prosecuted, guarantee you 90-95% of those people are snitching their way back to the streets. So if the reasoning is we only want to catch people with 20 grams so we can turn them snitch, I'm not cool with that. That is ridiculous. Like, that's a... My God. Let me find out these addicts are snitches. That's all I'm saying.
3 grams of heroin, by the way, is equal to 30 doses. One officer summed it all up like this: let's spend the millions of dollars on mandatory inpatient treatment programs instead of making excuses for their addiction and or crimes. The option should be treatment or jail. The cycle has to be intervened on, or it will never end.
I think that's already an option. But maybe it's just not an option here in Seattle, because that's definitely an option in a lot of other places. Michigan does that consistently, but I think that's more to get you so the mental health places can get paid. Like, because I noticed that a lot of people keep going to like these same psych centers, so it's just, I don't know. Maybe if you could pick your own psych center. But I mean, if that gets corrupted, then I can see that failing real fast. So that's another hard one.
And maybe you're wondering, why didn't they show the positive responses to the police questionnaire? The answer to that is simple. There weren't any. They use deadly drugs, and they sell those drugs for $10 a dose. And over they steal us blind to get the $10. And they pollute our streets and parks and neighborhoods. And they live in filth and despair like animals. And we allow it, all of it. We used to talk about compassion. And when the madness that is always patiently waiting off in the distance finally moves in and wraps its arms around them, and in the end it always does, the suffering escalates exponentially until the misery is a white-hot pain that never stops, never rests. This man in the downtown core of our city was suffering, in distress. Once he fell down, he couldn't get back on his feet again, so he sat there for a long time. At the exact same time, just across the street, there was another man, also apparently in the middle of a drug crisis, staggering out of it, lost in some other world. You can see the same thing on a lot of corners every single day. To leave them alone is a death sentence. Sooner or later they die, on the streets or in tents or in low-barrier tiny houses. To leave them alone is to shame ourselves. And that's why they need help. They don't need camps and injection sites and bags of free socks. They need help, the kind that takes courage, the kind that gives them and Seattle a fighting chance. They need intervention.
Quick story. And I just changed my opinion on this individual. I was at the bus depot once in Tampa, and an individual walked up to me while I was waiting for the bus to go home. He's like, "Hey man, can you spare some money, this, I'm hungry, I'm trying to get something to eat, I'm going to get a job tomorrow, this, that, and the third." And I always walked around with a backpack at that time. And in my backpack, I always kept like an assortment of stuff that would get me through the day. And so I would carry like phones or notebook and pen. This was before I had a phone, and I used to write everything down. And I always had something to eat with me. Well, I think I might have been getting off for work, and this particular time I just happened to have like SpaghettiOs, and I always kept plasticware just in case I need to eat, because in the shelter it's usually frowned upon if you bring stuff in there, but I mean, if you're doing what you're supposed to, like, you get to slide on a lot of stuff, and that's how it should be, make no mistake. But I said, "Yeah, man, you know what? I can't give you any money, but look here, man. I've got some food right here." And I opened my backpack, and I pulled out the SpaghettiOs. It was with the flip top too, so like you didn't need a can opener. So it's not like I was like, you know, giving a man dying of thirst like an empty glass. Like he could open it, and I gave him, or I had a plastic spoon to give him. And he looked at it and he was like, "Oh no, man!" Just, gave me some excuse and wandered off. And I used to hate that guy because he just wanted my money to buy drugs. But what he could have done was take my SpaghettiOs and my spoon, if he wanted it, and, tried to sell it, or just, wait for me to walk away and throw it away, and whatever. So he at least didn't take it from me to waste it. So I got to give him respect points for that. It has nothing really to do with what you're watching. Just something interesting to get out. Anyway.
And so the city of Seattle and King County seem to be struggling mightily to find answers. We came all the way to the state of Rhode Island looking for answers, and we may have found some right behind those prison walls.
Providence is a medium-sized city in our tiniest state. What they are working on here, while not outwardly revolutionary or mind-boggling at first blush, is a bold step towards saving lives and cities and giving tortured souls who've succumbed to the hell of heroin a fighting chance. And in Providence is a man who will tell you about the program they have developed. But first, he will tell you his own story.
I didn't have to do what I did. I wanted to be something that I couldn't be. I wanted to emulate the older fellas in the neighborhood.
His name is Michael Manfredi. He used heroin for 35 years.
I became addicted at the age of 15.
Props to this guy for getting off heroin after 35 fucking years. Dude. You smoked cigarettes for 35 years. You're pretty much hooked. Like, that takes a real strong will to quit after 35 fucking years. I can't wait to hear what this guy has to say.
Full-fledged heroin addict.
15 years old.
15 years old.
This is his mugshot from the last time he came to the Rhode Island Department of Corrections. 20 years of his life had been spent locked up.
Well,
nothing seemed to work. It was a life reeling out of control.
When I got the handcuffs put on me at my house that day when they kicked my door in, I looked at the lady detective and I said, "Thank you." And she looked at me like I was crazy. She said to her partner, she said, "This guy's nuts, ain't he?" She said, I said, "You just saved my life." Because if she didn't stop me there, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I would either be dead or I'd be doing life.
The question facing Rhode Island is similar to the question facing much of the United States. How do we protect our society while at the same time showing compassion towards those who are sick and struggling? It may be the question of our time.
I've wanted this program basically since the day I started.
Dr. Jennifer Clark is the head of what is referred to back east as the MAT program, Medication-Assisted Treatment.
We can't just ignore our way out of this. We can't arrest our way out of this. People are dying, and there's something we can do to stop that.
It starts out here, really, because the first thing that they do in Rhode Island is enforce their laws. Drug dealers and the people who steal and commit crime to get their drugs eventually end up in this place, the Rhode Island Department of Corrections. It's not a nice place. It's a prison. But inside the walls, something amazing happens. Every day, the inmates who are in the MAT program line up and they take their medicine. There are 3 opiate blockers that work: methadone, Suboxone, and Vivitrol.
I don't know about Suboxone and Vivitrol. Methadone is meth. Okay? It is basically that. Like, I wondered why I didn't hear a peep about pills. This is why. You can't put people from crack, meth, coke, heroin, what the fuck ever. You can't just switch them to pills because the same fucking thing happens. Plus psychosis a lot of the times. Hear this. All those side effects they found in Ritalin way back in the day, you're going to find a lot of the same side effects that are going to come from Adderall. That's just a focus medicine, right? Here's another funny thing. How come when a doctor has to prescribe you Adderall, right? Okay. And for you to be prescribed Adderall, it has to have a positive effect on you, right? You have to be ADD or ADHD or both. In my case, I'm both. But because I'm old now, like the ADHD, I don't really get hyper anymore. But I do still forget stuff. So that's why you're going to hear a whole lot of ums and It's because of that. You're going to find some of the same side effects with that. But anyways, if you're an individual like myself who is supposed to take Adderall or supposed to take Ritalin, this isn't what WebMD will tell you. This is what I'm telling you. Because this is what happens to someone who's supposed to take it. You know what happens? Nothing. You don't speed up. You don't get hot. Like, you have more energy, but you're not speeding around and you're focused. Like, you do have more energy to be productive. Takes away from your orgasm, by the way. I don't know why the fuck you'd make that trade-off. But, anyway. So if someone like me, that's what would happen. So how come every time I see someone who tells me they're on Adderall, they're speeding around and they got it from their doctor? Why are these doctors writing prescriptions of Adderall to people who don't take it? Because if you don't need Adderall, you speed up, your body temp rises, and you're basically, I don't know if you feel like you're on coke, but you certainly get a lot of those coke benefits. So now this feels more like a smear campaign on those other drugs and to get people on pills. And I am not. I'm going to be honest. I'm not looking forward to what I'm about to hear.
Are FDA approved. They get people off heroin. They save lives. Prisoners who enter the program choose which medicine they want to use. Michael Manfredi chose Vivitrol. He remembers when he first started taking it near the end of his last stint behind bars.
And one night I got a call, it was about 6:30. Come to the front desk. I said, oh no, hey, what do I do now? I know I didn't do nothing wrong, but they said, go see the nurse. I had tears in my eyes because I knew it was time for me to get that pill.
Really, this is the perfect setting because there's not as much distraction, actually.
Linda Hurley is the president of a nonprofit called Kodak. It's been around for 50 years on the outside. The state of Rhode Island hired Kodak to distribute medicine inside the walls of the prison.
All 3 medications you carry on your life. It's no different than if you were utilizing lisinopril or something, I don't know, a blood pressure medication or insulin. You have a family, you have a job, you build your life. What it does is it stabilizes us physically so that we can do the emotional work that we need to do to heal from the disease.
I started messing.
Okay, real quick. I'm going to go look at those other 2 drugs. I might even pull up methadone while I'm at it. And I would like to read some of those side effects. I don't know what they are. Again, like I said, I'd never heard of Vivitrol or whatever the fuck the other one was. So I'm going to look back. I'm going to take a screenshot of what those drugs were called. And I'm going to pull up some 10-minute research and see if I can't find legitimate proof about some side effects. Again, it's going to take more than 10 minutes of real time to, find out exactly what a drug does, because we didn't even really find out about what Ritalin did until years after it was too late. So again, my 10 minutes of research isn't nearly enough time to give a full in-depth of what these pills do or don't do. But let's see if they at least resemble some things from other pills that we know are fucked for people. Let's at least do that. So let's keep an open mind. One sec. So here's some of the side effects for Suboxone. I think that's how they pronounced it. Doesn't look like anything too crazy. I haven't read them all, and again, this is only one site. Mouth numbness, mouth redness. I mean, pretty mild. Mouth pain. That could be kind of a bitch, but considering the alternative, you'd probably want to take that. Headache, dizziness, numbness or tingling. So that's kind of a problem right there, numbness or tingling, because the only time you should have numbness or tingling is when something's kind of wrong with your body. That's how your body tells you there's a problem. So, like, for diabetics, if their feet start to get numb really fast, or their hands, that's a circulatory problem. So if you're always feeling numb, you'll never know if you like have a legitimate circulatory problem, unless you and your doctor are on some really good terms, and like he knows, he or she, or it, or pronoun, or fucking pick one, whatever. If that individual is that all right? I don't know. I'm just playing. But if that individual, man, I got lost up in my joke. I lost my train of thought. If that individual can't tell if they have numbness or tingling, I think that could be a potential problem. Again, in comparison to living that lifestyle, I would still side with that so far. Because, and again, let's see what this is doing to people 10 years down the road. Because it's not like you take a pill for a year and find out you're starting to develop psychosis. One, you don't even know you're starting to get crazy. That's what makes you crazy. One time for, oh man, tell me why I tried to call him Jim Gaffigan. Doesn't matter. Anyway. I just foresee that being a potential issue. Drowsiness. I mean, honestly, most pills give you drowsiness. Like, I mean, I could probably take an ibuprofen and feel, like I could take a Tylenol PM and feel drowsy. You know, just tells you, you know, try not to drive. You know, don't operate heavy machinery. That's mostly for Vicodin, but you know, just be aware that you're going to be drowsy. Sleep problems, insomnia. That's kind of an issue. Insomnia is a big problem. And again, it's not even going into the potential effects down the road. Stomach pain, kind of doable, but at least for me. But there's a lot of people who can't deal with pain, period, and I can see that being an issue. Vomiting, that's a big problem, because not only is that going to be a weight issue, it's going to be a mouth issue, because if you constantly throw up, all of that acid is going against your teeth. You're going to rot your teeth out just from vomiting. Constipation, I feel like that's like a common theme in like every pill is constipation. I don't know why these pills make it so that you can't have decent BMs. Feeling drunk or trouble concentrating. That, get medical help if you have a serious side effect, including, I don't know why this feeling drunk or trouble concentrating thing isn't in the second list, by the way. Number one, I don't think I have to elaborate on that, right? Trouble concentrating, like you forgot what you're gonna, I'm having trouble concentrating just doing this video, like, and that's just because I'm trying to multitask. Like, you want me to feel like this all day? That's an issue. Get medical help if you have fainting, fast irregular heartbeat. That seems to be like a regular thing in every side effect. and every side effect: faster irregular heartbeat, severe dizziness, mental changes. Wait. Mood changes such as agitation, confusion, and hallucinations. That's mood changes. What are the mental changes? Slower, shallow breathing, that's an issue. Unusual drowse. I don't know how many times they have to tell you you're going to get tired. Difficulty waking up. Okay. Granted, this is only one site. But I think if we actually look at RX List fully, I think this is a halfway credible website, considering it also has a advertisement for WebMD sitting right there. And WebMD is a credible website. That is credible information that they're popping back out at you. That's not to say that you can't go up there and every time you put something in, it's going to tell you have cancer. Or you're going to think you have cancer. Because it can do that too, don't get me wrong. However, if you know how to use WebMD and you're not someone who shouldn't be on WebMD in the first place, I don't mean to have that come off as rude, but there are some people who really shouldn't be on the internet. WebMD and its information, sorry, ADD caught up with me. WebMD and the information it provides is accurate. So it'll, like, if you pull something up, it's not going to be like, see, I'm not like a doctor or nurse, so I can't just point to something and be like, yeah, that's accurate, because I can't verify it. But if you pull up something simple or something, if a regular person who studies medicine pulls up WebMD, they'll be able to confirm that, yeah, this stuff actually matches up with what we're being taught. That's probably the best way to explain it. And I would think I need to do a little research on RX List. I've used it a few times, and a lot of the results that I've gotten are credible. I've never used it to this extent where I was actually like looking at side effects, though. This is actually pretty scary. And that's just the one. So let's, and again, this is only one 10, not even 10-minute research. All right. Let's keep that in mind as well. This is like 5 minutes of I picked a website that, again, is credible. Well, I have more faith in WebMD is credible because I'm familiar with WebMD. So I'm not saying that RX List isn't credible, but I feel like it has some merit. Anyways, so let's go into what the other one was. And I guess while we're at it, let's look up methadone. So, here's kind of like a little, I don't know, not necessarily a trademark, but, well, I guess it is trademark, but, cover your ass info. And I feel like I should have this in my video because, again, I'm not giving medical advice or anything, but from my experience and from what I've watched and from what I researched, this is how I feel about these particular issues. So, I kind of like that it says any medical information published on this website is not intended as a substitute for informed medical advice, and you should not take any action before consulting with a healthcare professional. So, even if it is medical advice, which is what it is, or it's not medical advice, it's medical information, it is real medical information in here. You definitely don't want to take it as gospel without at least talking to a I feel like they should put a trusted doctor. I think that should probably change. Trusted doctor. Not just any doctor, because you got bad plumbers, you got bad... Pick a category. You got bad doctors. Alright, there's a bad whatever employment of person. Like, it just is. Let's not sit here and pretend. But... that being the case, let's see if we can't see some of these website side effects. Let's try and do some research on how valuable this next web page I'm going to is, because I've never been on it before, and I don't want to just read off somebody's either opinion or it's a medical opinion of what these side effects are without really researching like fully, but like I'm already 2 hours into this video. I might make a follow-up after I find out more, but again, like Let's just see what we find. I found this, again, this is like a statement from them. So, I mean, anyone could make a statement about their company. Like, no one's going to, like, talk trash about their own company. Like, well, you know, we kind of just half-ass it. You know, we just kind of get research from here or there. But, I mean, this is their statement on how they review their medical content. Our medical affairs team ensures that medical news today's content, products, and services uphold the highest standards of medical, I don't know why I said medical, I don't know, integrity. Oh, because of the R in integrity, duh. Our dedicated team manages an extensive network of medical doctors, practitioners, and researchers who provide authoritative medical review for all clinical content. Okay, so I mean, that's what they say about their own website, but let's see if we can't see someone else's review. Here's an interesting website I've never been to before. It's called MediaBiasFactCheck.com. I'm gonna read more about them later, but I'm interested in what they have to say about this medical company. These sources consist, they're talking about the website we're about to visit. These sources consist of legitimate science or evidence-based through the use of credible scientific sourcing. Legitimate science follows the scientific method, is unbiased, and does not use emotional words. These sources also respect the consensus of experts in the given scientific field and strive to publish peer-reviewed science. Some sources in this category may have a slight political bias, but adhere to scientific principles. That is a very honest review. I don't think I've ever heard of an honest review about something before like that. Like, usually someone's either 100% on board with something or they're, like, against something. This is, that's interesting that they would point that out. Moving on. Overall, we rate Medical News Today Pro Science and high. Medical News Today Pro Science and high. Overall, can I just not read? Overall, we rate Medical News Today Pro Science. I think it's supposed to be Medical News Today, maybe, and Pro Science. Oh, that's... Alright, so a typo doesn't make something untrue. It does make it a little sketchy, though, not gonna lie. High for factual reporting, as most of their information is well-sourced and based on traditional medicine. We recommend caution and further research on any articles related to alternative medicine, which is considered as pseudoscience. Wow, I haven't heard pseudoscience probably since high school. I always wanted to call it pseudo. Wow. Alright, so there's like a whole long thing. I'll read this on my own. I'm not going to go through this with everybody, but like it looks like this is how they scored all their World Press Freedom Rank, UK 35 out of 180. But factual reporting high. Yeah, I'll do my own research on how they come up with their own ranking system, I guess. But moving on to the side effects. Alright, so this is the other drug, Vivitrol. Vivitrol is a brand name prescription medication used to treat alcohol dependence. Vivitrol is used for people who aren't in the hospital for alcohol dependence. You must stop drinking alcohol before and while using Vivitrol. Oh, okay. Prevent opioid dependence after opioid detoxification. An opioid is a powerful type of drug often prescribed to treat pain. Opioid detoxification involves clearing the drug from your body, so Vivitrol is meant to help you avoid becoming dependent on opioids again after you've used them in the past. You must stop using opioids for at least 7 to 10 days before taking Vivitrol. Interesting. Vivitrol should be used along with Sorry, I've got something. You guys can't see it, but I have something in my way when I'm trying to read this. Hold on. Vivitrol should be used along with counseling, education, and support groups. 100% on board with that. Like, for a intervention to work, you need all of these things. And I'm glad they didn't put, like, force a religion in there, because I feel like a lot of like stuff like AA makes you like have to believe in God for this to happen, or this isn't going to work. Like, I'm not. All I'm saying is, if you need a spiritual push to get you out of whatever you're into, 100%. But, and this isn't me turning my back on God or anything, but I think at the end of the day, this is a decision you have to make. You have to go to counseling. You have to accept it. Well, is this education that's going to further like a career, or is this someone else's idea of education? So I have to figure that one out. But support groups. So again, I'm glad it says support groups and not just AA, because there's a lot of support groups out there other than AA. Not saying AA is bad, but it's good to know that you have more more places to go than just one. Maybe someone's not comfortable going to AA and they'd rather go elsewhere. So I'm glad there's a lot of support groups. Dependence can occur when you take opioids or drink alcohol repeatedly. Your brain can get used to the substance being in your body. When you're dependent, your brain can't work normally without the opioids or alcohol. Opioid dependence is now referred to as opioid use disorder. You know, not gonna lie, super feel like that when I'm on cigarettes. When I'm smoking cigarettes, sure do feel like you can't function without them. And I'll make a separate video about that. Just thought that was interesting. Kind of falls into the same category, and it's not an opioid, but this shit's legal. I can buy a fucking carton and smoke it in a day and no one can tell me shit. Just weird. Vivitrol contains the drug naltrexone, which is a class of drugs called opioid antagonists. Class of drugs is a group of medications that work in a similar way. Vitriol isn't approved to be used in children. I'd like to know why. Vivitrol is given as an injection into the muscle of your buttock, like steroids. Well, I mean, I guess if you're trying to get off steroids, Vivitrol's a good option. I mean, you know. A healthcare provider will give you an injection at your doctor's office once every 4 weeks, so once a month. Clinical trials showed that Vivitrol was effective in treating people with alcohol or opioid dependence. Vivitrol helps treat alcohol dependence and decreasing cravings for alcohol. In one clinical trial, people who used the approved dose. Can I make this bigger so I can freaking read? Of course not. I don't know why. Whatever. Probably because it's in Chrome. People who used the approved dose of Vivitrol had 25% fewer heavy drinking days than people who took a placebo, no treatment. Heavy drinking days were defined as days when men had 5 or more alcoholic drinks or women had 4 or more alcoholic drinks. I guess they went on body weight on that. But again, body weight, you can't judge body weight on how someone drinks. There are plenty of people. I met a guy who was from Milwaukee. Could literally drink all day. Literally drink all day. And not have slurred speech. Not be able to perfectly drive. And again, I'm not recommending this to anyone. But he can drive fine. You would never know it. But the only way you could tell he was drunk is because you could smell it off him, like 2 feet away. But like you talk to this guy and you think like he just dumped some mouthwash on himself or something. But this guy was literally walking around drunk and didn't matter. So judging alcohol by number of drinks is kind of an outdated system, because even tolerance plays a factor in 2 ways. One, your tolerance could be so high that you don't really get drunk after 3 or 4 beers. Another is you've messed up your liver so bad that you can get drunk off 1 beer, because your liver is so ravaged that it literally has nothing to filter and you're getting the entire dose. So it's really hard to measure sobriety when it comes to alcohol. That's why I hated working at a gas station, because there's no winning there. Like, if you turn someone down, you hate him, but you know some of those drinks are going to people who are already drunk. The person buying it might not be drunk, but you know they're going to keep filling the party, you know? So, and it's just dicey doing that. Anyway. Okay, I'm looking for some side effects. Like, this is, like, cool info, but I'm trying to wrap this up. I think I'm getting tired. Vivitrol can cause mild or serious side effects, just like every pill seems to have, like, mild and serious. The following list contains some of the key side effects that may occur when taking vitriol. These lists don't include all possible side effects. Interesting. Okay, so to get the full lowdown, you got to talk to your doctor or pharmacist. Note, the Food and Drug Administration tracks side effects of drugs it has approved. If you'd like to report to the FDA a side effect you've had with vitriol, you can do through MedWatch. Okay, feeling a lot more confident in this website now. More common side effects. The more common side effects of Vivitrol just for alcohol dependence can include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, belly pain, injection site redness, reactions, redness, swelling, or pain in the injection area, muscle cramps, dizziness or fainting, feeling sleepy, decreased appetite, anxiety. Did these just like slowly get worse? These are the common side effects, okay? Here we go with that feeling sleepy, drowsiness stuff again. Dizziness or fainting, they have to mention it twice. Decreased appetite. I mean, yeah, that kind of sucks too. I know what it's like to not have appetite, but know your body needs to eat. Anxiety, definitely not great. Joint pain or stiffness, headache. More common side effects for opioid dependence could include injection site pain, toothache for some reason, trouble sleeping, that is never good, nasopharyngitis? Yeah, I think because it probably has something to do with the pharynx, so probably nasopharyngitis. Common cold or the flu, headache, increased blood pressure. Most of the side effects may go away within a few days or a couple weeks. If they're more severe, don't go away. Talk with your doctor or pharmacist. So that's going to be an awkward conversation. So what can I expect, Doc? Well, it might go away in 2 or 3 days, or this could be permanent. Well, not permanent, but, last the entire time you take it. Or maybe there's a side effect that's eventually going to make you numb and you won't really feel these side effects anymore. That's also a possibility. Serious side effects. Were those not the... Okay. Serious side effects from Vivitrol, which aren't common. I'd like to know what those stats are. But can occur. They can occur. Let's not, let's quote them accurately, I guess. Call your doctor right away. If you have a serious side effect, call 911. Most of the serious side effects that occur while taking Vivitrol can happen whether you're taking the medication for alcohol or opioid dependence. The only exception is opioid withdrawal. To have opioid withdrawal, you must have been taking opioid. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you can't blame them for that. That's going to happen to you regardless. But, opioid withdrawal, which can occur when you stop taking an opioid drug, obviously. Opioid withdrawal would occur only if you've recently used opioid medications. Symptoms can include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, fast heartbeat, high blood pressure, trouble sleeping, anxiety. Oh, interesting that the serious stuff now includes trouble sleeping and anxiety, muscle aches and sweating, liver disease, hepatitis. Liver disease such as hepatitis, swelling in your liver, or changes in your liver function test. Symptoms can include pain in your stomach that lasts for more than a few days, yellow tint to the white part of your eyes, feeling tired, dark urine. Wow, that's not good. Serious injections. Site reaction. Symptoms can include a hard lump in the injection site, swelling that gets worse, severe pain, an open wound, dark scabbing, pneumonia, fever, chest pain, trouble breathing, other serious side effects, allergic reaction, which everybody's different. Like, literally, that's why medicine doesn't work the same on everybody, because everybody's genealogy, well, maybe that's not the right term, but gene pool is different. So people can be allergic to different things. Like, I'm not allergic to latex, but someone else is. Just no telling. It's just roll of the dice. Depression and suicidal thoughts. Okay. So depression and suicidal thoughts are, that's part of crack, coke, meth, and heroin. So if this does happen to you, you're literally, you just made a lateral move. You just took your stuff in pill form. You're not getting it off the street. You're getting it from a doctor, probably a private doctor. Which, even if at least you bought it in the street, the money would at least stay in the street for the most part. So something else to consider. Not that I'm saying that the money should stay in the street. I think I went over that an hour ago, but. Yeah, I am, I'm not cool on all this. This is not good. So I guess let's go to methadone real quick. I'm just going to pull up the sites because I'm done. I'm 2 hours, 20 minutes into this, and I definitely made this video too late, so I apologize for anyone who's actually taken the time to watch all this, but yeah, I'm definitely starting to feel it. Methadone. Alright, so this next site is from Vertava Health, formerly Addiction Campuses. I'm not familiar with this website, so again, take it for what you will. But again, I'm 2 hours and 20 minutes into this. I'm officially done. I'm sorry. Short-term side effects of methadone. Like other opioids, methadone comes with a significant list of side effects. Even when a person takes methadone as prescribed, he or she can still experience a number of side effects caused by the drug. Short-term side effects include urinary retention, drowsiness or dizziness, dry mouth, upset stomach, sexual dysfunction, tremors, trouble walking, fainting, slower irregular heartbeat, decreased breathing rate. Methadone can also cause psychological side effects. Okay, so this is the first of the two websites that actually admitted that psychological side effects actually happen. And this isn't even in long-term. The long-term side effects. It just says it can also cause psychological side effects. In addition to the physical side effects mentioned above, potential psychological effects of methadone include hallucinations, depression, and trouble concentrating. So you can hallucinate on methadone in the short term. So this isn't something that's going to be happening 10, 15, 20 years down the road, like I've personally seen happen to someone who took pills for 15, 20 years, maybe longer. This is actually going to happen sooner. So what's the long-term side effects? Methadone is typically not prescribed for long-term use. I wonder why. Thus, many people who use methadone over an extended period of time may be abusing or addicted to the drug. So again, we're trading one for another, just like I said. I didn't know about the other two, but I knew methadone did this shit. So this website just became instantly more credible. Not because it agreed with me, but because it told me something I already knew. I'm very familiar with methadone. I've never taken it. I've seen plenty of people take methadone. The longer and more frequently a person uses methadone, the higher risk he or she will experience the negative long-term consequences of the drug. Potential long-term side effects of methadone include nerve, liver, or brain damage, lowered attention span and trouble concentrating, nausea and vomiting, mood changes, cardiovascular problems, respiratory problems, changes in sexual function and menstruation, increased participation in risky behaviors. What? I've never even heard of that as a side. Increased participation in risky behavior. What does that even mean? That's... here we are. Risky behavior can be defined then as one's purposive participation in some form of behavior that involves potential negative consequences or losses, social, monetary, interpersonal, as well as perceived positive consequences or gains. Okay. There's more. Additionally, people who use methadone for a long period of time are at an increased risk of developing dependence and or addiction to the drug. Just like with other opioids, methadone can affect how a person interprets pain and can provide significant pain relief. This can be addictive over time and can result in individuals continuing to take methadone despite being advised not to. People who abuse methadone are more likely to overdose on the drug. This is because many people who abuse this medication do so to experience the high associated with opioids. So opioids give you a high. Easy peasy. Unfortunately, a large amount of methadone must be taken in order to experience the euphoric side effects of the drug. Taking more methadone than what is prescribed or recommended can result in overdose, which can be deadly if not properly or promptly treated. I mean, wow. I mean, there's even like a treat options on this page for that stuff. That is crazy. It's actually a little worse than I thought. I wasn't even aware of some of the stuff going on in methadone. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
You need to do to heal from the disease.
I started messing around with the pills and everything, and then once I found opiates, that was the end of it, you know.
Ray Vincent has been behind.
Real quick, that dude looks like he's high on opioids right now. Just, I don't know this dude, but he definitely looks like he's high.
For 3 years. He was stealing to support his habit for a while, then he upped the ante to robbery.
Maybe if I didn't come in here, I'd probably be dead.
So you think getting arrested was a good thing for you?
I think it saved my life.
Ray takes Suboxone. He knows he may take it for the rest of his life.
You sound optimistic, actually.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't want to continue to come here the rest of my life. You know, and if this medication is a stepping stone I need, I'll do it. That's the bottom line.
Inside.
Okay, that's fair. So, he's got kind of a rosy outlook on that, you know, like, hey, I'm probably going to be taking this instead of that. If that helps someone legit get off of the other stuff and they're not feeling these side effects, I'm all for it. Because again, side effects don't happen to everyone, but everyone's body is different. So these side effects are going to affect some people. I just hope that this individual is someone who doesn't experience these. So if you can get away with taking this magical pill and you don't have any side effects and it keeps you from wanting to do drugs, and it's not fucking up your liver, which is impossible because that's how drugs get into your system. Well, actually, I think this is the method that's used for injection, actually. So I feel kind of weird about injecting medicine, but diabetics have to inject themselves, so. If this is legitimately helping people and not causing more of an issue, because it is, like, this is going to help some people. Some people aren't going to have side effects. Some people are going to have a relatively normal life. But there's a large number of people who are not going to have that same experience. That's my argument.
The prison. Inside the MAT program, the inmates have counselors. There are one-on-one meetings with recovery coaches and group meetings as well. They hit addiction with every tool they can throw at it.
And the recovery coaches come in and meet with anyone who's willing and interested in meeting with them so that they can develop a relationship with them on the inside and then have that relationship sustained on the outside.
Kevin Tangway says, I wasn't arrested, I was rescued.
And were you stealing to
Yeah, that's my main thing. What I do is I shoplift. I'm a shoplifter.
He's been in prison 8 of the last 10 years. He's on methadone.
We get it at 12 o'clock, and we're monitored. Like, we get dose evaluations, like the doctors, the counselors. We stay in touch so that they can know if where I'm at as far as the dose is holding me, keeping me, like, so that I'm not really feeling that bad.
The MAT system is a lifeline, and these men are holding on for dear life.
I'm not afraid of a lot of things, but I'm a little concerned about, like, I don't want to go back to it. I don't want to go back to it because you don't even know what's real anymore, and I'm a little afraid of that, to die alone, I want to kind of try to put things together. My mother is still alive. I want to kind of like make some kind of amends before something happens to one of us,
I can respect that. And again, I hope he doesn't get these side effects, I feel like the decision to go another route is commendable. I just wish there was a better avenue that didn't involve a lot of these terrible, terrible short and long-term side effects. I wish we could do something about that.
Look at this place. Look at all the buildings, the infrastructure. What if this was a specialized facility where we could use all of our resources and knowledge to fight this thing that is happening? What if it was a place where doctors and counselors and caseworkers were available, along with the treatment drugs that we know work, the ones we know save lives? What if this was a very specific place where sick people learn how to live life again? Job training, therapy, treatment, all of it in one place. It would have to be a place where the patients couldn't simply get up and leave if they wanted, because the sickness is such that doesn't really work. But eventually they would leave and have jobs and families and maybe continue to use methadone, Suboxone, or Vivitrol for the rest of their lives, the way some people use insulin. What you're looking at is McNeil Island, completely abandoned for the most part. You might call it an answer, waiting for the right question. It wouldn't have to be here. It could be somewhere else. But maybe that $1 billion that we spent last year could be spent on a tough, compassionate concept that actually works, that saves lives.
I think facility treatment is one of many avenues we need to take to tackle this thing. That can't be the end-all be-all. Like, I just don't think facility treatment on its own is enough to fix this problem. Again, we need to get to the problem long before people are even on drugs. We need to make it so that they're around healthy environments. We need to make these healthy environments so we can stop people from getting on drugs in the first place. Because it is so much harder to quit drugs than it is to just not do them. I'm living proof of that. It is real easy for me to turn down drugs because I haven't done the majority of them. I've taken like a Vicodin before, and the first time I took it, it was like, oh, this is cool. Every time I've taken it after that, I just felt sleepy. And I was like, oh, this is a waste of time. So, I mean, when something like coke or crack or meth or pick a hard drug comes up, it's real easy for me to say no because I've never been on it. So, and I don't want to say that I've had a completely healthy environment in my adolescent years, but I've had just healthy enough to where I've never wanted to turn to drugs because I was sad or angry or upset about my current situation. I'd like to think a lot of that has to do with having a strong mom to lean on. Just because my dad was gone a lot. So I think just having a stable foundation makes it really easy for someone like me to not be on drugs in the first place. So if you have a stable-ish situation like that, I can understand you not knowing exactly how drug culture works and why you would immediately think that, oh, well, if we get rid of the drugs, everything will be fine. Or why they're so upset at homeless, or not take the time to understand homelessness as a whole because they've never been in that position. So it's hard to think about. If you've never lived a certain lifestyle, if you've never even done a certain job, if you've never been put in that position, it's hard to understand the inner workings of that position. That'd be like working at a job for 20 years and then you switch companies, right? And you work there for a year and you'd be like, oh wow, this is like a kind of different way of thinking. I've always thought this way because this is all I've ever done for 20 years, and you guys do it completely different. Whether it's good, bad, or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that being in that position, you have a more complete way of thinking because you've been there. I don't know why I said position, but if you've ever been in that situation, you just have more knowledge to go on because you've actually lived it or you've been around that life. So so that's why I can forgive people for just immediately saying, hey, screw the homeless, get them out of here, da 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 da, because they don't know the inner workings of homelessness, just like they don't know the inner workings of drugs. It's actually a miracle that I even halfway know what I'm talking about when it comes to drugs, because I haven't even done the majority of them. Anyway.
As Seattle and the rest of the West Coast wander in the darkness, searching for answers, it's important to understand that the genius of what they're doing in Rhode Island isn't just that there is full drug treatment inside the prison walls. The genius is what happens when the inmates leave.
Priority number one being, how are they going to continue their medication?
The minute someone shows up in a program in the community, they have to be registered in that database, so we know if they're showing up or not.
Are the numbers going up?
The figure that I saw yesterday was 93% of the people who leave here on MAT are following up in the community. That's amazing.
93%?
93% are following through.
Michael Mann.
I'm not gonna lie, it seems like the tracking is a little weird, because I mean, they track sex offenders, so are they going to track them kind of like the same way? It just feels like that. I mean, it's one thing to follow up and make sure things are going well, but I don't know. That part seems a little iffy to me.
Freddie is one who stuck with the program after he was released. He's alive to talk about it.
Would I be where I am today if this program wasn't implemented? No, I wouldn't be here today. Honest to God, I'd be dead.
This is a Kodak Center. They are sprinkled throughout Rhode Island. There are 7 of them in Providence alone.
Once you come into the Department of Corrections and are medicated under methadone or Suboxone or Vivitrol, you become a Kodak patient. You have a patient ID number in our system, and our agencies throughout Rhode Island are all connected.
Former inmates or anyone else in the program show up anytime, any day.
Take-home bottles. So those will be filled.
And they get their medication. No red tape, no questions asked, no doctor's appointments, no vouchers. They're in the system, they get their meds. It's that simple. Josh Broadfoot overdosed 12 times and somehow survived. He got 3 years for selling drugs.
I'm grateful that I was arrested and taken out of the situation I was in, because, I mean, it sounds retarded to say I'm grateful I was arrested and I'm taken away from my family, but I might not even be there to ever see my family again if that situation hadn't happened. I might be gone completely on this day.
Josh is on methadone.
I don't think that's a retarded thing to say. I think he should probably give himself a little more credit than that. That is where police intervention shines and is necessary. When you are legit out there saving lives, like, that's what drug busts should be doing. I mean, had we not gotten it in the first place, we wouldn't have to be doing this, but again, unproven. Anyway, that's what it should be about, is that saving lives. Just because you're out, saving lives isn't just getting in a gunfight and out shooting someone or rescuing someone from a kidnapping. Like, this is a version of saving someone's life. Is arresting them so they get off the drugs. I just wish there was a better way than just pills in a facility. Like, I think we need more avenues before and after the fact. I mean, obviously we'd love to get people not on drugs, but for the people who already are, like, we have to do something different.
The MAT program, he says, gives him hope.
You got to get out there and do different, but at the same time, we have a little bit of help along the way. We have this counseling. We have something that we know is helping us to stay away from opiates and people that care, and so that's a major help.
On the outside, those group meetings continue, and so does the counseling that is so very important, up to 3 times a week.
And I changed by becoming someone I didn't want to be.
My psychiatrist, my caseworker, my case manager, and my doctor that prescribes my pills are all in one facility. I don't have to go all over the state of Rhode Island. It's one facility.
You know, with all the counseling and all the support that I have, it's like, it's a very smooth transition. You know, I don't know how it would be if I wasn't on medication. Because I don't know if if the next day I get out, I see a bag of heroin, you know. Somebody I know just sees me on the street, hey, you know, gives me a high five or something, there's a bag of dope in his hand, you know, I don't want to. It's scary to think about, but that's reality.
Ray Vincent got out of prison 19 days after we spoke to him.
It's real easy for someone to say, well, just don't hang around those people. Like, that guy might be his fucking neighbor. Like, he might see that guy literally 4 or 5 times a week. Like, so it's real easy to say just stay away from that, but sometimes, like, you could be minding your own business and trouble literally goes way out of its way just to find you. So I can understand this guy's struggle.
He's going to school to become a welder. He gets his medicine at a Kodak center every week.
It saves lives, so I don't think of it as being soft or compassionate. It is the right thing to do. It is what we're obligated to do as healthcare providers. It's the smart thing to do.
Patricia Coyne-Fag, who runs the entire correctional facility, knows that one of the ways of measuring success is looking at the death rate for those leaving prison.
Because I've seen it work. I mean, when you see the numbers, people who would be dead are not because of this program.
Leaving the walls behind is dangerous because addicts who are clean will use the same amount of drugs they used before and then overdose. The rate of that happening is way down in Rhode Island.
And what we found was a 65% decrease in mortality for people with a history of incarceration.
65%. And the program is still only about 3 years old.
Now that is impressive. I am not going to lie. People are literally not dying because of these centers. I will give them that. I just wish and I hope that these people are not going through these side effects. That is my only gripe against pills, are the side effects. You can't help that it damages your liver, but if the only side effect was liver damage and we had some sort of universal medical insurance that if your liver messes up, like, you get a new one, no waiting list, like, get in, get out, it's like shopping at Walmart, you know? Obviously it can't be that simple, but like, if that was literally the only side effect, and even if that side effect did occur, we could do something about it. That is the mark. That's the mark we should be aiming at. That is the bare minimum we should be accepting. Like, and unfortunately we just don't have the medical advances right now to make that happen. This certainly looks like it's a step in the right direction. However, I think I know we got to do something about these side effects, and I don't know how you do that in this medication. I mean, like I said, that's my only complaint.
And maybe it's just a coincidence that it's been a group of women who have spearheaded a program that is tough, compassionate, and innovative all at once. Maybe it's a coincidence, maybe not. Michael Manfredi has a job now. He goes to meetings. He's reconnected with his family. He's productive. He's happy. He's alive.
My biggest thing is my granddaughter. She melts my heart, man. Absolutely, I've never been happier in my life.
Why is that?
Because I've never lived a productive life like I am today. My life's great, man. I can't thank everybody enough, man, because if it wasn't for this MAT program, Michael wouldn't be here today. I'm proud of myself, proud of my family, and I'm proud of everything I've done.
And that means so much to all of us, me and the people who work in the program, to do this work, because you're the reason we do it.
What they've done in Rhode Island and in other places can be boiled down to two simple concepts: enforcement and intervention. Seattle and King County have retreated away.
See, this is what makes it hard. If this is a genuine person who is not on drugs, and again, I can't really see a super close-up of her face, and again, just someone could have a clean face and still be on drugs. Like, people pop pills all the time, and you don't really... There's plenty of pills that don't, like, give you, like, scabs and acne and shit. So... But if this is like a genuine person who's literally everything on her sign is 100%, yes, let's get this person a house. Let's get this person in a hotel. Let's get this person off the street. 100%. I am in favor of putting this person in a hotel because I think that they will appreciate it. They will not corrupt it. They literally are using it as an avenue to get where they need to go. And I am 100% on board with that. But it's hard to find out who are legitimate, because there are people who hold up these same signs that just aren't true. And that's what makes this such a complicated situation, because we've gone away from what the crisis actually is, which is also, like, part of the crisis is housing. People like her, if she's legitimate, have a hard time just finding housing. Finding Section 8 housing. I don't know if you've ever lived in Section 8. I've lived in one, which was good. That is the only Section 8 that I've ever heard that was actually decent. That I've ever heard or lived in. Like, I think one of my apartments could have been kind of considered Section 8, but even then, that one was still great. Like, I never had noisy neighbors. I never worried about people breaking into my place. I mean, I always lock my door, but I mean, if someone wants to get in your house, I don't care what security system you have, they're going to get in. But even just for waiting lists like that, for legitimate people who aren't, it's just really unfair that, and again, I don't know her, but if she's legit, it's unfair that people like her just can't find housing. Some of these people are actually on the street for real. Like legitimate people who just had a baby, or got in debt and lost their house, or have literally nothing to do with drugs. And I feel, granted, I bet the hugest part of Seattle is drugs. 100%. I'm not saying that the homeless crisis in Seattle is just bad luck and timing and whatever. I'm willing to go between 80 and 90% is actual drugs. There are legitimate people like this. Again, let's just use this as a tracer. Let's use her as a tracer. There are legitimate people like this in the street that are literally homeless, that have nothing to do with drugs. And we need to solve that too. Not just the get people off the streets because they're on drugs problem.
From those things, we've left sick, tortured souls to wander the streets, to rot in filth and die before us. We've turned over our city to those who would steal from us and addict our children. We've turned away from simple concepts that bind together society and keep it safe. Things like enforcement and intervention. A city is a living thing. It has a rhythm and a heartbeat, a kind of soul. It is a collection of ideas that we protect and defend, old ideas and new ones. And over time, the ideas blend into a collective, living, ever-changing dream. And the dream is nothing more and nothing less than a better life for our children. But behind the beauty and the ideals, behind the bridges and the ballparks and the beautiful buildings, the dirty work is the fight. Great dreams and great cities don't survive without a fight. Seattle is dying. Maybe with all the wealth and growth, we became so pleased with ourselves or so busy that we forgot about the hard part. Maybe good people who go to work every day and raise families and pay taxes, the ones who built the city and dreamed the dream, forgot about the dirty work. Maybe we forgot about the fight.